Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us on Select News. My name is Latifa, and we are here at Buziga Hill coming to give you the best of the news sources that you have. Now, today in our conversations, we'll be discussing about what is happening in the political arena, especially in the FDC and NUP Cup. Now, let's look at the headlines, and we'll be right back.
In the headlines, 6 down sport in police shootout while dispersing wild crowd in downtown Kampala. Patrick Amriat Oboy, Robert Kyagulani Sentamo arrested while flouting the Electoral Commission guidelines. More to come, government to Makerere Business School teachers, keep heart, your share shall be considered. And in the world of sports, Nicholas Wadada claims the 2020 256 Footballer of the Year award.
Thank you for staying with us. We'll begin the conversation on the chaos that happened in the city centre. Now, 6 people have been feared dead while scores are injured after a riot broke out in the city centre, attributed to the arrest of the party flag bearer Robert Kyagulani in Luka district.
The areas of Chiseka Market, Kafumbe Mkasa, Ham shopping malls and others, including Salama Road and Kansanga, are still at a standstill with sporadic chaos after riots erupted with the news of the arrest of Robert Kyagulani. The numbers of those that were shot dead when others caught in the crossfire is rising by the day. While police opened tear gas and rubber bullets on the protesters, they in return pelted stones at the officers. The riots that started in the city centre have now spread out to other parts of town, paralysing business and movement. Kyagulani was taken to Nalufenya and will be charged with holding campaigns with more than 200 people. Carol Tumwine for Select News.
Very sad conversation to start our news on, and this sparks of fears on what would happen when the elections finally start. Now, let's take you back a little bit to the conversation on when Robert Kyagulani was arrested in Luka district for contravening the COVID-19 guidelines that were put up by Electoral Commission and Ministry of Health.
Robert Kyagulani Sentamo has, since starting his campaign trail in northern Uganda, attracted a large crowd, an act that contravenes the Ministry of Health guidelines of 200 people. Aside from tear gas and rubber bullets, not a lot has been done by police on terms of action taken on either Robert Kyagulani or his team.
Telling you, we are non-violent. Yes. Do not be violent. Yes. Do not fight with them. Yes. That Abraham Asimwe, the son of Rutabahigwa, and a son of Eric Rutabahigwa, and that man called Iwezi.
Today, was, however, different. Luka district in Eastern region witnessed for the first time the arrest of Robert Kyagulani. Bundled in a police vehicle, Robert and his bodyguards were seen being whisked away by a dozen of officers from the scene.
Be non-violent. Don't push him. Don't push him. How do you push a presidential candidate like that? How? I'm not
Tear gas and rubber bullets were fired in order to disperse the crowds that had become rowdy, protesting against his arrest. Earlier this week, the Inspector General of Police gave a stern warning to presidential candidates against converging large crowds as a measure to curb COVID-19. Kyagulani supporters shouted slogans of "Free Bobi Wine" and threw around accusation of police being partisan.
Nebatuyisa mu nnimiro netukkiriza, nebatuyisa mu kibira netukkiriza, nebatuyisa mu bibira byonna bino kwe tugezezaako okukkiriza. N'ate neyo naye wennyini ewabi ne bakola zetu batugobayo kati tetumanyi kiki.
By press time, Bobi Wine had been taken to Nalofenya prison, where he will stay until further notice. Meanwhile, the chaos of the arrest in Luka spread to the central region, bringing traffic on a standstill. Karatumine for Selection.
Now you have seen where the genesis of the chaos came from, the arrest of Robert Kyagulani. Now, Robert Kyagulani was not the only one who was arrested today, but FDC flag bearer Patrick Oboy Amuriat was also arrested by police in Gulu as he was planning for a rally at Awere grounds. We have that conversation as well.
We have given it. This is a straight road. I know, but we have given this road. The road is very clear. We have given you no choice. No, that's I'm telling you, you got me here. That is not true. Then you must yourself. You first.
Your supporters are being blocked from accessing you. What do you have to say about it?
Well, this was expected. I am surprised about it because the person that we are dealing with is a coward. He's lost popularity. The people of Uganda no longer desire him.
Hello, you get him! There.
In support of his colleagues, Mugisha Muntu from the ANT camp wrote, "We have decided to pause our presidential campaign activities until our colleagues Honorable Kyagulani and Honorable Patrick Amriat Oboy are released and their freedom to campaign guaranteed." He says, "We call upon government to recognize that this isn't business as usual and the future of the country depends a lot on how you handle this situation. Hashtag change is coming. Hashtag country before self." Now moving forward with the conversation and going into the yellow camp, the NRM flag bearer Yoweri Tihabawura Kaguta Museveni has today commenced his campaigns in Karamoja sub-region, where he was accompanied by the former Minister for Karamoja Affairs, also First Lady Janet Kataha Museveni. The First Lady called upon locals to vote for NRM for better service delivery. Now, as we speak, this particular campaign rally is still continuing in Karamoja region.
As the president continues his trail in the different parts of Uganda, the president, having finished his campaign trail in Acholi sub-region, he has managed to go on and start his campaign trail in Karamoja sub-region, meeting leaders from different districts here in Moroto.
Uganda has become ungovernable, not only Karamoja, which the Honorable Koris was talking about, but even the whole country had become ungovernable. In the process of removing this snake, the gun, a number of people, and it was not a new problem. The problem of lack of peace in this part of the world had actually been going on for almost 500 years, because we were not invented by the British. We were here even before the British came.
We've met some groups. We have discussed issues we discussed before, things we did together in the work I used to do with them when I was here as Minister for Karamoja. So it is a real pleasure for me to be in Karamoja, and it's always like homecoming.
The place was bad. I didn't know that it would even change. But one time when I was the Minister for Karamoja, he brought a suggestion that in order to settle Karamoja, we must remove these guns.
We see the conversation continuing, and we'll be going through the COVID-19 updates and the reason why the candidates are being taken in prison and arrested for the fact that they're contravening the COVID-19 guidelines. Now, here's the concern. In Uganda, we already have new cases that have been registered just yesterday, and they're at 342. And when we look at the cumulative confirmed cases in the country, it is at 6,905. 2025 and still rising. Now, when we look at the deaths, we have 7 new deaths and the cumulative deaths at 157. And the cumulative COVID-19 tested to date is I beg your pardon, that is at 597,192, while the cumulative recoveries stand at 8,394 with 117 new recoveries. Now, it is up to you to decide whether that should be a concern during this political season and whether the SOPs and measures that were put by the Ministry of Health should stand as we are rallying behind our candidates. Now, we'll take a break and we'll be back with a conversation on police saying that the allegations on the fact that they're using expired tear gas is not true. Stay with us.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Credible, bold and accurate. You can trust us to add professional context and in-depth analysis to the web of current affairs every week. Share an experience with those that saw it happen. A blend of opinions from journalists, subject experts, and involved participants. The Newsroom, breaking down the weekly top stories. Join us at 9:30 p.m. every Saturday, only on STV. Wait for the Age at 9 p.m. prime time every Sunday.
The news has literally become suck-click for what happens in Gulu, Mbale, Kampala and elsewhere is the same. My job is to tell the story on what happened, where, who did it, how they did it, and probably why they did it. Join me every single weekday as I break down those big stories that make rounds of headlines only on Select News. With me, Simon Chris Makanga.
Hey guys, you're watching STV. Select for fun.
Well, welcome back to Select News. Now, the tear gas that has been used by police has been alleged to be expired because the people who have been in those riots say that the tear gas actually it itches more than usual. Now, police has come out to deny these reports and say it uses tear gas that is not expired, and it is the only way that they can come and disperse these crowds. Now, for you who do not know what exactly is in the collection of chemicals that causes skin inflammatory and eye irritation. It's usually deployed from canisters, grenades, or pressurized sprays used by security agencies to disperse crowds.
Following the launch of campaigns by various presidential candidates, the use of tear gas has become sporadic in the names of enforcing the COVID-19 measures required of every candidate. Reports started circulating accusing police of using expired tear gas. Police was swift to address these as allegations and baseless rumor. Eduardo Chom, the director of police operations in Kampala, explained that tear gas seems to be the only solution for dispersing crowds.
Tear gas is non-lethal. It's not only Uganda that is using it, all countries use them. And it is the most non-lethal method, apart from inconveniencing you and barring you from what you are doing so that you can disperse. The purpose is to make you disperse. And we have been using it, and successfully.
Concerning the role of the guards that the Electoral Commission provided to the presidential candidates, he explains thus.
Tear gas is non-lethal. It's not only Uganda that is using it, all countries use them. and it is the most non-lethal method, apart from inconveniencing you and barring you from what you are doing so that you can disperse. The purpose is to make you disperse, and we have been using it, and successfully.
He urged the political aspirants to protect themselves and their voters.
Those who shall defy these Electoral Commission guidelines with their sinister plans aimed at disrupting the electoral process will definitely suffer consequences.
Electoral Commission has also given new guidelines to be followed by the presidential candidates.
Unauthorized assemblies are currently prohibited under the Electoral Commission and Ministry of Health guidelines. As a result, the safety and the security of all candidates, their agents, and the successful conduct of the political campaigns.
And the program on printing of campaign posters has also been released by the Electoral Commission. Maria Dana Namido, STV Select News.
At STV condemn acts of brutality, and we are dearly sorry about what happened today in town. Now, moving forward with our stories, the voices of Makerere University Business School lecturers have been heard and solutions are being told by the Minister of Public Service on behalf of government. Edith Nabagereka has more on that story.
Last week, lecturers from Makerere University Business School, located in Nakawa, laid down their tools demanding for better payment and the clearance of their arrears.
The business school has been consistently focused on service delivery, which is true, really. This school has done a very good job in terms of teaching, in terms of recruitment, in terms of keeping the staff intact together, and consistently really carrying out its mandate of teaching and skilling our people. We noted with appreciation, and we actually want to commend the administration and the teachers of the business school for doing this and keeping up that spirit.
With barely 2 weeks left to the end of the academic year, stakeholders determined to put an end to the protests held a meeting to sort these different issues.
So, noted with appreciation that all the staff demands were accepted by government. Actually, in all our meetings, we said, okay, yes, you need to recruit. Yes, go ahead and recruit. You need to harmonize pay, salary, pay. Yes, we are going to harmonize. We need money quickly to meet the shortfall, the 4 billion something. You say yes.
To address the various issues, Honorable Murui Mukasa, the Minister for Public Services, said that government is holding closed-door meetings with the lecturers to clear their grievances.
All the concerns really were agreed with. We found a solution and a way forward. And we gave ourselves commitment. And at the end of it all, in spite of the COVID, we patted each other, on the back. Said, okay, that's good enough. So the next thing is just go ahead. We are now energized. Let's go ahead and continue with our education.
He affirmed government's position to keep the promise they made to the lecturers in line with salary increments.
And this also was followed up with our written commitment by the ministry, government, Ministry of Public Service, to making sure that we fulfill these requirements that we agreed on. There has not been any shift in the position of government over this matter.
Minister Mukasa further said Makerere University Business School should register the number of lecturers eligible for government payments for proper documentation. He promised their salaries will be paid soon.
Of the Makerere University Business School Academic Staff Association to explain to his members the position of government in resolving their grievances and to request them to call off the pending industrial action.
Report compiled by Edith Nabagereka, STV Select News.
Now, the civil society organizations, together with heads from the mining sector, have today launched a manifesto on mining tagged the Citizens' Manifesto on Mining and Petroleum 2021-2026, which will be fulfilled, hopefully, by next year. Sarah Nakandi has more on that story.
The civil society organizations, together with the heads from the mining sector, have today launched a manifesto on mining, the Citizens' Manifesto on Mining and Petroleum 2021-2026, which they hope will be fulfilled by next year. Headed by J.B. Butcher for small-scale miners, the stakeholders want government to recognize and improve effective mining and Citizens' Manifesto.
Today we have launched our issues, our concerns. We want to be addressed by the coming government. And we request and pray that all the parties that are contesting, all the candidates that are contesting, that have received these copies of the manifesto, to make sure that we include our issues. Because our support for any candidate, our support for any party will entirely depend on the approach in solving our issues.
Karanaka Jibi from Action Aid says the problem Ugandans face is limited access to information on mining. She urged the government to front these efforts. The launch, attended by the presidential aspirant Mayambala Willie, confirmed the need for the presidential aspirants to take an active part in the oil and mine industry.
That says that we as Ugandans, we intend to focus on efficient exploitation of the petroleum and gas resource as well as other mineral resources. Because I believe that all these tax holidays that I'm providing to Ugandans are all going to be counterbalanced by incomes or financial benefit from the petroleum, gas as well as other mineral resources. So in that regards,
the deputy spokesperson for Democratic Party, according, explained that the reason why they did not launch their manifesto is to accommodate such issues of importance. Sarah Nakandi, STV Select News.
Now, in more of our business stories, Uganda's brand new aircraft completed its test flight. The aircraft is expected to be coming home in only a matter of weeks as planned earlier before.
Uganda Airlines remains on course to expand its fleet following the emergency of pictures showing one of the two Airbuses ordered testing the skies for the very first time successfully in France. This means that it is only a matter of weeks that this brand new aircraft, which is much larger than the 4 Bombardier CRJs that the company already owns, should be arriving at home in December as earlier planned. Footage of the aircraft receiving a complete paint job thousands of miles away in France mid-last month ignited the sort of excitement from Ugandans that you could liken to that of a child. And after catching a remote glimpse of the plane's classy airspace cabin and now its test flight, Ugandans will have been more than reassured of the arrival of the long-haul aircraft, a development that Uganda Airlines CEO Conwell Muleya recently said would be a big milestone after 18 years of not going intercontinental. The addition of this Airbus to Uganda's flag carrier's fleet is seen as a huge step in the development of the company, which celebrated its first anniversary 2 months ago. Genesis Namade, STV Select Business.
Well, still in our business segment, the failure to dispose a substantial number of cases has continually tied up capital of over 5 trillion Ugandan shillings at the Commercial Division of the High Court. Our reporter picked interest in the case backlog, bottlenecks, and the impact on business operations, and now reports.
At least more than 5 trillion Ugandan shillings is locked up in commercial disputes, with some cases taking as much as 10 years to get resolved. This according to Mr. Patrick Gimara, the former Ugandan Law Society president and board member of International Center for Arbitration and Mediation in Kampala, result from a large case backlog sitting at the Commercial Division of the High Court. Speaking at the launch of the center's 2020-2023 strategic plan, Mr. Gimara said there was need to promote the use of arbitration arbitration and mediation as non-litigation measures to reduce case backlog in the commercial sector. He says we need to support the private sector to enable businesses resolve dispute quicker. We are saddened by the fact that close to 5 trillion Ugandan shillings is caught in the justice system as a result of the ongoing disputes. On average, the commercial court receives a total of 2,000 cases annually, with only half of these going up to disposal per annum. For instance, according to the 2013 annual report, the Commercial Court Division received 2,417, of which 1,747 were disposed of. However, the backlog during the period grew to 4,165, which represented an average annual growth of 22.6%. It is now clear how the current case backlog looks like. However, the average annual growth of at least 22.6% is on a high end for a court that lacks in both financial and human resources. Genesis Namale, STV Select Business.
Still in business today, Uganda officially starts inspection of export labor companies to check the level of compliance with COVID-19 standard operating procedures as business sets up for them.
Labor export has been one of the booming businesses in Uganda, with hundreds of thousands of Ugandans currently working abroad. Effective March 18, 2020, externalization of labor was suspended to countries like United Arabs, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Afghanistan, and so many others due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier this month, the government of Uganda lifted restrictions on the exportation of labor, giving relief to companies to start sending Ugandans to work in those restricted countries. According to a letter dated November 16, 2020 from the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, Agre Chibenge, to the Executive Director of the External Recruitment Agencies, says inspection will start on Wednesday today, the 18th of November. Tumwebaza also tweeted saying this is to inform all licensed companies involved in the sourcing of external employment for Ugandan migrant workers that following the relaxation of several COVID-19 lockdown measures by Ministry of Health and resumption of air travel, Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development will be lifting the ban on labour export by licensed companies following the existing mandatory. Genesis Namale, STV, Select Business.
Well, we'll take another short break and then we'll be right back with sports.
Hey guys, you're watching STV Select for Fun.
One step into the country and you will know Uganda is a magical destination. Perfect description of nature reflected on its natural way of life. But beyond the description is much more for you to discover. The culture, the religions, the wildlife, the nature, and oh, don't forget the food. I'm gonna give you an exciting adventure discovering the hidden beauty in your country. Trek with me, Genesis, as I give you an essential guide to whatever or wherever it is that you want to visit. Catch me every Friday at 9:30 only on STV.
Credible, bold and accurate. You can trust us to add professional context and in-depth analysis to the web of current affairs every week. Share an experience with those that saw it happen. A blend of opinions from journalists, subject experts, and involved participants. The Newsroom, breaking down the weekly top stories. Join us at 9:30 p.m. every Saturday, only on STV.
Hey guys, you're watching STV Select for Fun.
Well, Well, thank you for staying with us as we're moving in to our sports segment. Now, in our sports segment, after 18 days of public voting, Nicola Wadada has been named the 256 Footballer of the Year, beating fellow Cranes players like